So if you've watched Blue Valentine, then the ending probably got you like this. Or like this. I'm not gonna lie, I was the latter. I'm a sucker for those happy endings, which is why I couldn't help but think it just didn't have to end the way it did. Now understand I can't just say that Cindy and Dean live happily ever after and that's that. Or maybe I can, but I'd be completely deluded. So in this video I'll try to justify my ending by telling you why I think the movie shouldn't have ended the way it did, and also what my ideal, but realistic ending would look like. So let's start with the story. Blue Valentine portrays the relationship of a once beautiful couple, filled with youth and passion for the world, but most importantly each other. Dean works with a moving company when they first meet. He's unsure about his future and is still finding himself, while Cindy's a pre-med student that is having relationship problems of her own. Not a match made in heaven, but they seem to be. That is, until they don't. And that's what the movie portrays so perfectly, but also so depressingly. The extinguishing love of both characters and how time has taken its toll on their relationship. Because while passion carried the relationship for so long, papering over the cracks of obvious flaws in the relationship, this passion has now faded with the passing of time, and all that's left now is misery and their sheer inability to communicate. The ending scene is truly a work of art, as the movie ends with a shot of Dean walking away with some fireworks in the background. Fireworks symbolizing the relationship, burning so brightly and so quickly, yet fading away just as suddenly. Now that I've gotten the very poetic synopsis out of the way, what is my issue with this ending? The message of powerlessness and complete defeatism that the ending sends. Because even behind all this fighting, arguing, and even the very painful motel scenes, the two characters clearly still love each other. And that shows in probably my favorite scene in the movie, when they're dancing to the song You and Me. And you could say that's a bit of a stretch, but each scene in the movie has a specific purpose. The scene is there to tell us that there's still something there, that they still love each other, and you could see that they're trying to fix the relationship. Dean is attempting to bring back the passion into the relationship by booking a room at that motel, and Cindy's trying to have a conversation with him and communicate when they're there to fix their problems. But unfortunately, all these attempts fall on deaf ears, and the movie makes it seem like it's just impossible for them to fix things, that they're too incompatible and just too toxic. They were toxic, no one can deny that. No one can deny that the two characters are not perfect either. They clearly have problems. Dean is very immature, impulsive, insecure, and can be emotionally abusive at times. That scene when he first hears the news of the death of their dog, and the first thing he tells Cindy is, "How many times have I told you to lock the gate?" Even when she cooks the oatmeal for their kid, and he starts questioning how she made it. Honestly, I could go on and on with more examples, or even talk about his daytime drinking, but you get the point. Dean wasn't a great husband. On the other hand, Cindy wasn't the best of wives either. She's emotionally immature, and she's completely cold and unaffectionate. And you only need to look at the motel scenes to see that. Now you could blame Dean for how she is, or you could blame Cindy for how Dean is. But both are wrong in my opinion, because going back to the flashback scenes, these character flaws were present even back then. You only need to look at the scene when they're on the bridge, when Cindy was telling Dean she was pregnant, to get a glimpse of how the future might look like, and did look like. Dean being completely immature and reacting poorly to what Cindy told him, and Cindy also displaying the same immaturity, and how she decides to address the very big topic at hand. And that's why I said that their passion papered over the cracks, because their love for each other did in fact cover many of the obvious flaws that they both had. But with all that being said, that still doesn't mean that the only viable option is for them to leave each other. Because what happened to fighting for the one you love? What happened to for better or for worse? What message does the movie send that when the going gets tough, when that honeymoon period ends and all the flaws that were imperceptible come to light, they just give up, scrap the relationship? And I know what you might say. Maybe I'm ignoring the important themes that the movie touches on. Young marriage and all the problems that stem from it, and the naivety of young couples. You're right. It's important to send a message that you shouldn't let your love for someone blind you from their obvious shortcomings. But the movie already sent that message, regardless of the end result. Maybe them not ending up together makes that message more impactful and makes their actions seem more consequential. But having them overcome those challenges would have maintained this message, while adding on to it another message of greater importance. One that highlights that relationships are not easy. You have two individuals with wants and needs and responsibilities that are constantly changing, and they're tackling them and growing together. Of course problems will arise, but if there's real love there, then you can get through it. And listen, I'm not saying you should stay in a relationship that is completely rotten, or that every relationship is worth fighting for. But in my opinion, that one was, because there was clearly love there. And let's be real here, one could easily identify their problems, and it just boils down to lack of communication. Their communication throughout the movie is null and void, and they're never able to express their true thoughts and emotions to each other. This causes their pent-up stress and anger, and like fireworks, they explode. So you see, the problem is not as complicated as the movie makes it seem. The movie should have focused on the importance of communication in relationships and fighting for the person you love, instead of further romanticizing the idea of dying love and our inability to do anything about this phenomenon. So to be more specific, the two main characters should have had a sit down, where they have a complete heart-to-heart, lay it all on the table, all the baggage and everything. And I know they already tried that, but this time Dean will be all ears, and Cindy will be much more direct, because that outburst in the hospital will be a wake-up call to both. This very honest conversation will have both characters come to the realization that they haven't been looking outside of themselves for so long. Dean will realize that he can be hurtful with many of his comments towards Cindy. But not just that, he'll realize that he needs to stop being lazy and work and take care of himself. On the other hand, Cindy will take down that wall that stands between them, as she will come to understand Dean's shortcomings and remember that he sacrificed his future and his dreams to raise a child that wasn't his own because he loved her. And that will remind her why she loved him and increase her affection towards him. And at the end, to top it all off, we have a scene where they renew their marriage vows, with their child bringing flowers. And just like that, the ending is perfect. I know that the ending might seem a bit too idealistic for some, but honestly, is it too far-fetched to say that they should just have a sit-down and hash everything out, like grown adults that love and adore each other? It's so easy to quit. That's what many people do nowadays. That's why I think this movie could have really sent a message that, as cliche as it sounds, love is worth fighting for. Again, not every relationship is worth that, but this one was. Anyways, this is my ending. I hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you want more, and I'll see you in the next one.